Here we are.
Back.
We're back.
We're back.
Here we are in with Dr. Jimi Wollumbin in his beautiful apothecary space. Thank you for having us here.
Pleasure.
And Dr. Jimi Wollumbin, if you haven't seen our previous episodes and workshops with Jimmy, he is a doctor of Chinese medicine, herbalist, deep mythic being.
Thank you.
And educator of integrative medicine as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're here today to follow on from the previous conversations we've had around fatherhood, testosterone, mojo and masculinity, and to find out about herbs and food that's going to best support fathers.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you be able to give us a brief rundown on what we'll be covering?
So just by way of a sort of run-up, I put together all this material earlier this year called The Unwounded Womb for women. And it's, all of the stuff that they require, hormones, but also where the medical meets the mythical, and this, beautiful collection. And then just off the tail of that, I was like, all right, now I got to do the brothers. And at that point, I got contacted by the Fatherhood Collective, and the timing was perfect. And so we had that initial conversation, an interview on the Tao of testosterone, and then I was really honoured to come and sit with 11 or 12 brothers who were just all on the precipice of becoming fathers. And if anyone hasn't seen either of those lectures, I would say that's assumed knowledge for today's conversation.
They'll be linked. Go watch them there in the description.
Go and watch them first, yeah. Particularly the live event with all of those men. There was a really special energy in the room, and I feel really, really honoured to be able to be there and influence them at that particular point. And so that piece also, the assumed knowledge there is, why do fathers need a whole bunch of extra special care? Right? Now that seems kind of obvious, when you say it out loud to me right now, but maybe to other people it doesn't seem so obvious. So the case is made there, why fathers need to take care of themselves and also be taken care of by the tribe, by the community, by the family, by everyone, right?
More so than just men in general, as you'll find out in the talk, there's particular circumstances around dads that require a little extra love.
Absolutely. And so we're not going to repeat all of that material. But today I want to build on that, and we're going to be looking at more practical ways that men can nourish their mojo, that can preserve their life force so that they can give their deepest gifts to the world and to be in service of the principles and values that they hold dearest and those that they love, right? And so that's why nourish yourself as a man, right? And then as a father, then we have to say as well, why is all this required? It's just so that you can really do that sacred work of ushering in the next generation in the best way possible, right? And you're going to need all the chi and all the reserves and all the buffer and all the vitality and all the strength and all the open-hearted, loving softness that you can muster. And fatherhood is exhausting. And so that's the case repeated. And so I'm going to provide practical examples here of mojo meals and daddy herbs, right? Specifically aimed at fathers, because we're here with the Father Collective. And I'm going to do that by just focusing on just 3 things today. And I'm going to give examples underneath each of it. As I've explained in the other talks, it's not just about increasing a particular marker on your path tests, your blood tests called testosterone. That's just so not enough to create the outcome that we're looking for here, right? It's not even enough to boost testosterone just to focus on testosterone alone. And so the 3 broad principles to create those outcomes for men are to, first, not necessarily in an order, but I'm going to say first, nourish the yin. Second, ensure the free flow of qi. And third, ignite the yang.
before you continue, would you give a brief explanation of yin, qi, yang for some people that
Great. And so I'm utilizing that language compared to other language that we could be using here, partly because I believe that that's started to enter our common lexicon increasingly, right? And so what you think you understand by that is fairly correct. Is fairly correct in terms of yin, yang, and qi. So I'm not going to give really specific pieces around that. But when I say yin, I'm going to put a little bit more around that. I mean, if a battery is to produce sparks, it requires fluid in that battery. That's what a battery is. You can make one out of oranges, right? And the yin is the fluid in the battery that allows for that spark, right? Another way to speak about this is that yin is the parasympathetic, right? The parasympathetic, where all of your reserves are rebuilt in that state of rest and digest, rest and quiesce, right? Feed and breed. That yin state is so necessary. That's when we're plugging back in and the charge is being built, right? Sometimes when I lay in bed in a siesta and I have my hands on my body, then I do a Taoist meditation where I see the sort of Nokia charge symbol going do 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 do, and I'll see that when I'm just lying there, right? That's yin. I'm passive. I'm laying there. I'm really relaxed, and I'm revitalizing in that deep state of surrender, right? That, and so yang is your capacity to do stuff. It's the spark. It's activity. It's all of that fire that's necessary to do everything, to be in service, to create change, to get up in the morning, right? All of those things. It's not just about having hard-ons, although that's glorious and necessary, but it's about having an erect posture, like a firm spine. It's about the spark in your step and the sparkle in your eyes to be able to be there for your beautiful little babies, right? All of that requires yang spark, right? And then I spoke about the free flow of qi, rather than qi per se, not building qi, but ensuring the free flow of qi. Now, what that means is contained inside the poetry of the sentence. To be not tense, to be able to have your psychic energy and your corporeal energy, your physiology, in a state where it's flowing. It's not tense, it's not locked up, it's not rigid, right? It's in a state of flow. And that state of flow is not contained necessarily inside the yin and the yang that I just said, right? So I've talked about yin, yang, and qi flow. And it's more about flow than qi there almost, right? And so these are these three principles. And if you want to it has to start with penis because it's the most motivating thing. If you want your penis to be glorious and to work, then you need these three factors, not just yang and not just testosterone. So let's start there, because penises are very motivating.
They are.
They are, and so they should be. It's wonderful. Like, I'm all about the penis. But if you want your spirit to shine, and if you want to be a loving man of service, if you want to achieve your goals, if you want to have a long life so that you can realize the mystery of creation and of your own being, then these three things are also required.
Yeah, and I was just, as you started with the penis, it's like, generally speaking, and most of the time, a good functioning penis is representative of a well-functioning being.
Yes, it really is. It's also come to be understood as the canary in the mine shaft for the heart. And so if men's penises aren't working, erectile dysfunction is predictive of cardiovascular risk, right? But more than that, that's mechanical. That's cardiovascular as in the pump behind your sternum. It's also reflective of the emotional heart, right? And there is, in the same way that there is a connection between the emotional heart and the uterus, there is a connection between the emotional heart and the phallus, right? And so we can't have a schism between that anymore. And women are doing a great job of reclaiming their genitalia, their sexuality, and all of these things. And there's still a bunch of shame around men and about dicks and about men and their dicks. Oh, men and their dicks. It's like, no, no, not at all. We wouldn't put that shame on a woman these days, right? And so we can take it off men.
It's like, wow, men and their dicks.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at all of art for all of history. The phallus is, there's a yin and a yang, a primordial yin and a yang, like the sun and the moon, and that is the phallus and the vulva, right? Like these are really important, and we're re-sacralizing the world when we re-sacralize men and we re-sacralize their bodies, because that's half of it, right? It's half of it. It doesn't come at the expense of re-sacralizing women's bodies and women's minds. We need both.
And I love the connection between the dick and the heart. That's
Right.
something that I feel like often is viewed as two separate things, like lust and sex and your dick, and then emotions as being separate.
Yeah.
It's awesome to hear that.
And what a
They're
terrible thing
integrally
to
linked.
do to men as a culture. There's no one to blame here, but that we've landed in this way that we're socialized as though those things are separate. And imagine our young boys who are first having their first sexual experience today in the world, and they've got just only pornography as a model for that, and they've got these kind of narratives behind it of like that there's some sort of separation between heart and dick, and there's not, right? So we're really although we're going to be speaking about the body here, the body is the temple of the soul, the container of the soul. It is it's the reflection of the soul. Soma and psyche are not two things, like yin and yang are not two things. They're one thing in different phases or seen from different perspectives. And so all of this is very soulful work, like whether that's boosting testosterone, which is the least of our things, but yeah, or honoring the yang, right? It's all still, in a Taoist sense, there's nothing kind of macho or machismo about these things. It's a mystical imperative to live a long life so that you have long enough to be wise, that you've lived long enough to be wise so that the tribe may benefit from that. The whole world may benefit from that, and at a very minimum, your loved ones and your children may benefit from that. And so when we're speaking about dick, it's actually
It's for the tribe.
It's for the tribe. Yeah, it really is the flourishing of yang qi. Yeah. Shall we jump into like how to do that? How to do those three things? Yeah. So let's start on the yin, honoring the yin, right? And so in our world, and I want to not conflate yin with feminine and yang with masculine at every single point, because that's just not how this language works in Chinese medicine. Okay, so resist that urge, anyone listening to this. But our post-industrialist society is all about activity and progress, right? And it doesn't honor stillness, surrender, receptivity, and quiescence, right? It doesn't. It doesn't honor that in men, and it doesn't honor that in women, right? And so this is medically incredibly important because people are burning out. Burnout. There's poetry inside that. It's like sometimes it's because you've just like hit the charge on that battery too much. Sometimes it's burnout is because there's not enough yin water in the battery or not enough yin water in the radiator, and then it overheats and burns out because the yin is depleted, and we require that yin, right? And so honoring the yin is also about honoring rest, quiescence, surrender, right? First and foremost, it's not just like, good, let me have my yin tonic and get on with the day. I've just swallowed my pill and now I can keep on the treadmill of modernity. It's a larger piece than that, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and as you said, our culture that we're living in, most of us, really the value of work and hard work, especially from the generation. I know my parents, it's like their highest value.
Yes.
Oh, you've worked hard. Oh, you're a good person. You've worked hard.
The Protestant work ethic.
Yep, yeah. And it's gnarly. So we've inherited that upbringing and those values. And I found that learning to rest is like learning a skill because it wasn't shown to us and it wasn't taught to us.
Yes.
And what was shown to us was just hard work is equals success.
Yes.
Hard work equals success. This is kind of the
goodness, like you said.
Goodness, yes.
The devil makes work for idle hands. Don't stop, otherwise it's evil.
Yeah. And so it really takes a recognition of that to properly honor yin as well. It's like, oh, okay, that's somewhere in the psyche and that's what's influencing me to, maybe it's not, maybe there's pure inspiration but maybe there is, cultural values that we have to turn the volume down on or let go of as best we can.
And re-find a balance, right? Because productivity and work and activity is sacred and glorious, right? It's just not the whole story, right? There is a yin to that. And the Protestant work ethic does not honor that. It doesn't honor being, it honors doing, right? And so then when we come to then, let's just tie it back into the penis again, because I think every time we come back to the penis, it's going to make it very, very real. It's like, yeah, good. How does this affect my penis? Testosterone is utterly bound up and dependent upon cortisol. And cortisol are your adrenal reserves. Although we use them as a proxy for stress, as I've gone into in the other lectures, it is the anti-inflammatory stress buffering compound that comes out alongside adrenaline. And so when you're in that go adrenalized work, and you're using the yang of adrenaline and the yang of adrenaline and the yang of adrenaline, you are using up your cortisol buffer, and that is very predictive of loss of testosterone, right? As your cortisol levels get exhausted, your T levels will go down. And so how do you replenish cortisol? Through rest. So this is just biochemical language around the same thing that I just said, right?
I was just going to link. So the cortisol depletion is the burnout you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. And first off, before there's cortisol depletion, there'll be high cortisol. And your high cortisol means you are like running on a credit card debt. High cortisol is dangerous, right? It means you've still got it, but you're on a credit card debt. And you're going to undermine your yang, your vitality, and your testosterone and your penis if you keep on that with high cortisol. And then after a while, that high cortisol will then flatline and you'll have low cortisol. You have no yin left in the tank. And how do you replenish your cortisol so that these things can stay in balance? It's through honoring rest and quiesce. It's through honoring being, right? That's the primary thing. It's not like, which herb do I swallow? It's like actually carving out time in this apocalyptic, industrialist, postmodern era where we're all like diodes in a computer, right? It's incredibly exhausting. Yeah.
And I just want to reinstate and reaffirm that it feels like everyone needs to honor rest. It's not like, is my cortisol already high? Am I running high? It's like, as part of having the balance and maintaining the balance, honoring rest, even if you're feeling great, you still need to honor rest. It's like a natural balancing necessity.
Think about those Taoist-inspired martial arts. Think about the Tao Te Ching. Think about all of those things, and you'll see, although balance is absolutely the goal, they sing up the yin, the honoring the yin, the going with the flow, the quiescence. They're like so that you can preserve, right? Because like it gets exhausted. It gets exhausted by the world, right? And this applies to all of us, men and women. Yeah. Yes, and so then I guess then the primary thing around that is really rest, and is being in a state of being, not a state of doing. And so before we push towards what pills do I buy, or what herbs do I cook, or what foods do I ingest, to what do I consume, which is our consumerist thing. Okay, good. Tell me, what do I buy and consume? Yeah, that's right. Or what do I do about being? It's like, we all do that. Like we all do that because we're all inside this paradigm. Then you still want those things to support that process, because by having those medicines, alongside those practices. And those practices are beach walks. Those practices can be crocheting. Those practices are, Tai Chi and yoga if that works for you. Seated meditation if that works for you. There's siestas. Yes, yes. Big believer in the siesta. So there's 1,000 things, and I think everyone understands broadly what that direction is. You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one we don't need to list 1,000 of them. We know what those things are. Whatever gets you into a state of parasympathetic that's the medicine. And it's a being. You've got to do that being. Right? And sleep is really crucial. It's really crucial. There's no accident that the morning glory, your testosterone peak, comes after your deepest yin quiescent sleep, right? That's where it's regenerated through absolute darkness and stillness and being and dreaming, right? Through that. And so doing that is the real medicine, the practice, right? And any pills or herbs or diets come second to that. However, pills and diets can help, right? And so, first off, what you don't do is energy drinks, right? What you don't do is stay hyper-stimulated. What you don't do, have really high sugar that's going to take you up and take you down like this. Those sorts of things, stimulant kind of stuff, right? And also then empty foods go across the way on all of this. But there's a yin destroying heat inside a lot of the toxins of the world. So poisonous stuff, like fast, empty stuff, will deplete that because you've got to use all these resources to get them out of your body, right?
I'm just thinking of like screens and stimulating, like even being shopping centers, like that's stimulating and stressful, and like recognizing that, oh yeah, when I'm watching Netflix before I go to bed, it's not like, it feels relaxing, but it's also very stimulating to the consciousness.
Yes. And so finding that nature time, and classical things would be like time by water, getting your feet on the earth, right? Yang, sky father, yin, earth mother, feet on the earth, and there's like electron transport and stuff associated with that, so it's those practices are cheap and free for all. And first off, you need to understand what the target is. What's the target of yin here? That state is the target. And then second, how do we nourish it through diet? And I said the things to avoid. Then some of the one of the most important one that I would say, perhaps the easiest one for today's purposes, is nourishing stocks, broths, soups and stews. And so if you're not vegetarian, then bone broth nourishes the marrow, right? It is yin. It's liquid, and if it's cooked a long time, it's kind of jelly. It's not yang at all. Like, it's not like a peppercorn or a corn chip, or it's just like amorphous jelly thing, right? But that stuff, that very yin-looking stuff, and they make it in Taoist medicine from donkey hide, and it's an important yin tonic, boiling down the hides of donkeys, right? And so they use it in this regard. But it's also central to the gut and psychology syndrome diet. It's also central to paleo practices. It's also central to the autoimmune protocol. It provides, it coats the gut, right? And then it provides an anti-inflammatory environment that the right bacteria can breed in, and its yinness is absorbed, and it tops up very quickly, or very effectively, that fluid in the radiator, right? Whereas a coffee is going to use it. It's requiring it, right? It's just like putting your foot down on the pedal on a car, right? And so that tops up the radiator. Is that making sense?
Makes a lot of sense. Is there something also in the broths and the stews that it's been cooked for a long time? I've heard that it's been broken down, so you don't have to spend as much energy digesting it and breaking it down in your body.
Exactly. It's like an IV drip. It's like an IV drip, right? Baby food. And so yin food for the digestive tract that doesn't require the digestion to do so much work is already cooked down as well. And then there's a range of those things like khichdi in Ayurveda, which is like mung beans, dal and rice cooked together for a long time, or congis in China. Congis cooked in bone broth with seaweed, and there's all this slippery, slimy goodness in seaweed that the gut loves in this, and the nervous system love. There's slippery, slimy stuff in a range of mushrooms as well. There's a range of things that have this mucilage in it, or things that the bowel loves. That's all yin, and it helps. It really, really helps. So if you're like, I'm vegetarian, I don't mess with bone broth, then I make a formula called Gaian bone broth, and it's entirely vegan. But you can, shiitake, a good vegetable stock with all the yin, with vegetables which are all quite yin. It doesn't matter. You put them all in there, sort of yin, and then some good herbs inside there. That could be some shiitake mushrooms. That could be some seaweeds. If you want to get fancy, then you can put some goji berries in your stock. In your vegetarian stock, you could put some lotus seeds in there. Or anything slimy, chia seeds and stuff like that. They're all going to nourish that gut yin and also nourish the anti-inflammatory kind of process, right?
Which vegetables in particular are the yin ones?
Well, basically all of our vegetables are fairly yin in the vegetable world. So there's no yin and yang are terms like big and small. So there's nothing that's ultimately big or nothing that's ultimately small. Like the Earth is big compared to Saturn, and it's actually kind of small. An ant is small compared to a microbe. And yin and yang are like that. They're comparative terms, right? But in the so most of our cultivated vegetables are really quite yin, right? And so vegetarians sometimes have a problem because they're not eating enough yang plants that are wild and resilient herbs out in the world. We've got these yin herbs that are full of fluid and sugar and expanded, and they're big and they're sweet and they're domesticated. They're kind of poodles, like they're lap dogs a little bit. They're great, but in terms of the yang, the vegetarians can miss out on yang plants, and they need those ginsengs and wild plants out there that have got the yang. But for this, vegetables are great. Getting your vegetables in is good as a man. We need veggies.
My grandfather, and he loves tripe.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I feel like that was a cultural thing from Italy.
Yes.
But as you were speaking to, I was like, oh yeah, tripe. It's literally the intestines of animals.
Yeah. The stomach lining. Yeah, my dad used to like tripe as well. So a lot of those non-muscle meats are, if they're from happy, organic animals or wild animals, then they contain a whole bunch of goodness like that. So does the actual marrow from bones. So if you get a marrow bone, you cook it up, you scoop that stuff out, that's nourishing your marrow. And marrow is like sperm or reserve, essence, jing. It's a really potent thing. And so that stuff is really, really good for us, right?
Really practical question, because I just don't know the answer to it, and I'm curious. But people are saying cook the marrow bones in the oven before brewing them into a broth.
Yes.
Do you know why we do that, or?
I know it's certainly easier to get it out. I'm not sure about the other things around it, but for scooping it out, then it's just out it comes.
That's a good
A
reason.
little browning adds flavour as well.
Yeah, makes it delicious. And so I've emphasized watery, stewy kind of things, and then the rich water-binding molecules that are mucilaginous, whether that's gelatin or non-veg versions, and that's the watery part. And so I'm going to give you another metaphor. It's for the yin, we want, it's just like in a car, the water and oil, right? The water and oil keeps the car running cool, right? And so in a human being, I've just given you the watery components of that. And these are teaching tools. It's not as simple as that, but they're good mnemonics so that these ideas land for you. They're images and metaphors. But oil is also really important. Good fats. So oil has been maligned because we've got shitty oils all over the place, but really good oils are really important. They're anti-inflammatory and they keep the engine greased and cool, if we think of it like that, right? And so all your good oils are really important for nourishing the nervous system. We see that with our kids as well. There's the essential fatty acids, the fish oils, or the ghees and the coconut oils and all of those things, and the hemp seed oils. There's this whole thing on oils, so we won't go into the details. Oil and water to keep your engine cool, and running. That's the yin part on the food side, I would say. And avoid foot on the pedal too heavy, being a lead foot all the time. That means stimulation, whether it's with caffeine and those sorts of things, or sugar, or just work pace and all that other sort of stuff. Don't just overwork that engine with your foot down, right? And we're all doing that.
Yeah, the caffeine bit is a pretty big one for everyone. So I would love if you could just, is there a way to use caffeine where you can use it in a way that isn't just frying your engine all the time?
Yes.
How would people enjoy their caffeine? Because people love the caffeine.
Oh, I love caffeine.
We all love caffeine.
Caffeine is glorious. It is really the medicine of the industrialized world, and that like, or at least the food of the industrialized world. And the industrialists had to get the British off their homemade herbal beers onto caffeine so that they could be good factory workers, and they were quite conscious about it. It was like, this beer at lunchtime is not working. It's like, it's cool, you make your nettle beer and this beer. No, come have some tea. Off you go back there, right? That's, there's we run the machines on oil, run the people that run the machines on caffeine, right? And it's hard not to be on it. In terms of how to answer your question, then everybody is unique and everybody has a different capacity for these things. However, coffee is very heating. It's very concentrated. It's a glorious plant. It's a wonderful entheogen. I would say to enjoy caffeine, don't use it to just get through the day and work. Use it for your soul. Use it on the weekends. Use it with dates or friends. And probably, this might seem unrealistic to a range of people, I would say 2 days out of the week on coffee. 2. And 5 days not on coffee. And then they say, how about my decaf? It's still the same plant. It's still hot. It's still yang. It's still caffeic acids. It still requires the liver. It's still acidifying. It's still all of those things. It's an improvement, perhaps. It's less stimulating, but it's still not bone broth and cucumbers. It's not goji berries. It's still in that heating category. So it's not like, I'm just decaf, so it's free. It's not doing all of that. It's a hot medicine still, right? And otherwise, then, we're looking for a free ride here. If you put goji berries in, it's good. It gives a bit more yin there. If you make it bulletproof with coconut oil, that's really quite good. If you have green tea, it's much better. You've got all this goodness. You've got the L-theanine, which is the yin to the caffeine yang. The L-theanine smooths it out.
Could you add that to coffee? Because I have L-theanine powder.
I guess so. You can add a range of things to this. But this sort of hack mentality is looking for the free ride. Doesn't really exist. It's still good. It's better. You do what you can. I make a product that I call Shaolin coffee, and I have it every day. And it's with dandelion and mushrooms and rhodiola for increased electrical activity, and a little bit of ginseng for that adrenal piece. And to be honest, I often make it as a dirty chai, and I put some tea in with it as well. So I have caffeine.
So is there coffee in this Shaolin?
No, there's no coffee, but it's a coffee-like beverage because it's darker and richer than tea, and it's milky and good. But it's full of, it's cordyceps and all these things in a way that's tasty, that's actually giving me this benefit. So another thing that I would say is those herbs, those mushroom coffees, mine is obviously better than everyone else's.
Let's get that recipe.
Shaolin coffee. But dandelion coffee, whatever ways that you can reduce your intake, right, is basically the necessary thing, and try to get on green tea. If not, right?
I love the message. Use coffee for the soul, for your soul, not as the fuel to get through your day.
Not for your mortgage, not for your boss and their deadlines, right? Not for the electricity bill. That's your life force. You're tapping your reserved life force, your stored essence, vitality, jing, right? You're tapping that to pay the mortgage. It's like, okay, well, it feels like I got to, right? But it's like you're a blood factory. You're just bleeding into the mortgage there. It's terrible. It's really exhausting. And the central notion of Taoist medicine is preservation of qi and yin and yang so that Shen or consciousness can thrive. And so using it up like that is, one, it keeps you in a fight-flight state where most of your capacities are offline. Not all of your brain is on when you're in fight flight, even if it feels good. It's not all on. You're not all there, right? The brain turns off apps that it doesn't need, including your immune system and your digestive system and your endocrine system and fundamental ways. It turns on your arms and your legs, right? And a section of your brain, not all of it. And so caffeine does that. It can feel good, like bungee jumping can feel good, right? For some people, right? But it's exhausting. And the goal is being able to have enough time to become yourself and to realize the wisdom that is yours to realize so that you can share your gifts, and just getting the mortgage paid through stimulation is not it, right?
Yeah, one of the beautiful mentors says coffee is, she's from Africa, and they did coffee ceremony, and it's a heart opening medicine emotionally, so it's connective and it's beautiful and we can use it for the beauty of social connections and sharing.
Absolutely.
That feels soulful.
It's a sacred herb like tobacco, and if you honor it, that's an entheogen, and it can be used really beautifully, and it has been by traditional peoples. And we prostitute it and prostitute ourselves to it, and then it hurts us because we abuse it. We don't work with the spirit of coffee. We use coffee, right? And then it hurts us because we're not approaching it in the right way, right? It's a using, consumerist way in service of the mortgage.
There's no reverence.
Yeah, there's no reverence. So I'm all about coffee, but she's, as with all of those big plants, as it's like, coca leaves, they're a sacred medicine to the people that use them. You chew them every day when you go to work, you'll burn out pretty fast. Yeah. I've got a recipe as well that people can make themselves at home, which potentially increases testosterone. Comes back to the penis, right? And I'm calling it parasympathetic passion juice, right? And the reason for this is that it has passion flower with honey and propolis in it, right? And these ones are there because of there's this constituent inside them, which is a flavone, I think, called chrysin. And chrysin is starting to get, I think that's how it's pronounced, it's starting to get more research because I think bodybuilders are using it because it can prevent testosterone being aromatized into estrogen, and so you've got more free testosterone around, right? And so in an era where we've got too much estrogen, not enough testosterone as men, then that's a thing. And so it's utilized as a T boost in that particular way, right? But that's chrysin as an extract, but it's high in all three of those substances. And passion flower is a relaxing herb that you can have in the evening, and it helps with the pathos of life, with the passion, like Christ's passion, which means suffering. It's not actually passion flower is going to make you passionate. It's not. It's it's called passion after the passion of Christ, as in the suffering of Christ. That's where its name comes from. And it helps with that. It helps increase dopamine and serotonin in circulation, does all these good things, and it's really relaxing. And so I'm going to put that one down there as a formula that you can just make at home, right? Propolis, honey, and passion flower. Mix it up and have it in the evenings. It may be helping your mojo. That's not how those herbs are that's not how passion flower is traditionally used, as far as I know. But through parasympathetic arousal, at least, it can help you just to relax, so that's possible as well.
And propolis, what form does that come under?
It's the thing that the bees gather the resins from the trees to protect their hive from viruses and all sorts of other things like that. So it's like sort of frankincense and myrrh and all this sort of resinous sort of things, but all mixed up from the forest locally. It's an incredible medicine. And you can get it in a liquid, in a tincture, and then you can just squirt some of that in some water with a little bit of honey to sweeten it and some passion flower. And so those three there, my parasympathetic passion juice, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so that's an easy remedy that people can make.
Awesome.
Yeah. Shall we move along? Okay. So then let's go to the yang. So in terms of nourishing the yang, right? which previously I spoke of in terms of Mojo in our other conversations. When it comes to natural substances that boost testosterone, the research isn't great. There's a handful that have research behind them, but there's an enormous amount of herbs that men have traditionally used that have an enormous respect in the folk tradition that don't appear to boost testosterone when tested, right? At least not on the balance of studies around that. And so overall, there's so many Mojo herbs and few of them get support when tested like this. And so I think that's a bit like the early tests on echinacea, where they said, people have said this stuff's amazing for infections and all this sort of stuff. And then the scientists come along and say, well, let's just drop it on some bacteria and see what happens. And it's like, no, it's not antibacterial at all. That was bullshit. No, it's not antiviral either. No, that was bullshit. Because they did in vivo tests. And then they found out when they did, they did in vitro tests. When they did in vivo tests in people's bodies, they found out one of the things it did is increased phagocytosis, that the white blood cells chomping things was increased. And so they were measuring the wrong point. It wasn't antimicrobial, but through all these other pathways, it did what traditional mob said it did. And so when it comes to nourishing the yang, then we want to look at the fullness of all of these herbs and practices that are around that. Understanding that if you're an evidence-based bunny, right? And some people are really, that's their thing. I'm an evidence-based bunny. It's just like, and by evidence you mean? I mean not empirical evidence over the last 2,000 years and folk, all that sort of stuff, people's experience, my experience, your experience. No, I mean published trials only, right? And so in this area on yang, we go a lot better if we're focused on yang and Mojo than if we're focused on tea alone. Let's start before we get to ingestibles on things that are non-ingestibles. Then for yang, one of the easy ones is sunlight. Sunlight, the sun is yang and the moon is yin, and sunlight is, it wakes you up in the morning and it does all these things. It rises as your morning glory rises. There's this, mutual thing that's happening around that. Sunlight is mythically yang, but it's also deeply bound up with our testosterone levels through vitamin D, which is hormone D, right? It's not actually a vitamin, you can't get it in plants. So through hormone D, which is trapped sunlight, then our fire and our yang fire and that furnace is nourished, right? So sunlight's important, right? Sunlight's really important. So getting that sunlight is important. And if not, then getting a vitamin D supplement through cod liver oil or through supplements, whatever it is. Sunlight is trapped and stored in hormone D. And all of your bits are all studded with receptors for vitamin D, right? And that's what it is. It's stored sunlight. It's yang in a liquid. It doesn't glow and shine and it's not physically hot, but that's what it is, right? It's trapped like that. So sunlight's really important. That's why your testosterone levels are lower in winter than they are in summer, right? That's why so many diseases can just be measured by how far you are from the equator, because your vitamin D levels go down / your yang goes down, right? And then your immune system and its activity and its yang is not powered, and your brain and your hormones and all these things that require a spark. You can measure so many diseases by how far you are from the equator, and it correlates, it goes up. Vitamin D is huge, right? But I'm bringing us back here to hormone D as trapped yang qi from the sun, right? So that's a really important one, right? And then on top of that, inside those times and climates where there's more of that solar qi, then we as men are also, as humans, but we're talking about men today, more active. And activity is necessary for yang, right? Too much activity exhausts the yin and then exhausts the yang, but no activity, you don't build the yang, right? And so then, because it's yang is built by activity, like movements, like friction, right? So we do need that stuff, but we need the good stuff. And that comes back to the easiest part in terms of research is that muscles are like the third testy, right? Muscles are the third testy, and they are really androgenic, really testosteronic, right? And so when you're out there and you're running and swimming and throwing frisbees and lifting weights, you know, all of that stuff, then you are building your yang qi, and that definitely correlates to T levels as well, right? So I've got that. Is that making sense? That solar yang qi trapped in vitamin D, and that activity that solar yang qi allows for, that then translates into muscles and androgens.
And the other, yes, they translate, and also strength training on its own. So in winter, say, you know,
Yes.
I'm thinking about the Vikings actually. Like in the northern hemisphere, they would have had long winters.
Yes.
Maybe they were warring just to build their testosterone.
That's right, to keep it up.
But
I'm sure they had a lot of cod liver oil in their diet
true.
and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Though they sort of was all in there. Somehow they'd figured out that how to survive in those environments through eating those particular foods as well. So they were having, because there's so much stored sunlight in cod liver oil through vitamin D as well, right? So yeah, there's that.
So bit of battle will go a long way, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
Winter time, sun's not as strong. Don't get as much vitamin D
Yes.
from the same amount of time as you would in summer.
Yeah, and don't go out for beach walks and all those other things, and wrestles and faux battles through sport. Sport is ritualized battle, you know. Or if not battle, then as I spoke about in one of the other things, it's just like that, like power poses, which are generally laughed at by men and women alike, but just this sort of like, "Rah!" That boosts your testosterone, gentlemen. And so like that battle thing, like that actual kind of like flex your T.
Holding an axe.
Yeah. Yeah, and then do some exercises with like a sledgehammer, you know, all these like core strength and all these things. It's just like, yeah, that grunt feeling is really psychologically important, as we've spoken about in the other lectures. And so in terms of other nutrients, then zinc is perhaps a really good one to speak about here. All of our bits are all thirsty for zinc. And zinc here, like what's the connection is it's the minerals in the water. And it's like in England, there's particular parts of England where they say, you don't have the minerals to take me on, right? And it's just like what vitalizes the water is the minerals. And zinc is this vitalizing stored reserve that's really important for immunity and all these other sorts of things. But it is, it's really, really necessary for us, and half the world is bloody deficient in it or something at least. Like it's really like we don't have enough of it. And so for our yang qi, whether that be immunological or hormonal and sexual, then zinc and vitamin D are two big ones that are supported there in terms of making sure you're getting those in your diet, right?
Where do you get zinc from? Because you say vitamin D, pretty easy.
Yeah, in zinc you can a balanced diet should give you enough, and you can get more of it in spermy things like seeds, like particularly pumpkin seeds, you know, which are little, you know, the sperm of the pumpkin in a way, and oysters and stuff like that. You know, it's in there. Supplementation is safe and easy with this one as well. So it's pretty good. You get a zinc supplement, however that goes, and that's a pretty easy way to get it.
And that doesn't need, you know, how some of these supplements say, oh, you shouldn't just have the vitamin T without the K2.
These days they've got,
zinc
these days good zinc supplements have some cofactors in them as well. And so it's pretty easy. Zinc supplementation is pretty straightforward. I think the WHO listed it as one of the most biggest bang for buck interventions in world health is just raising people's zinc. So they hand out zinc, costs nothing, and we've got all this research that suggests it's behind so many problems in third world as well as first world. Like it's a big, important thing, right? And it connects there to the zinc, and there's zinc in sperm, right? Remember, there's zinc in ejaculate, right? And so it's nourishing there like that as well. So then I've got a recipe here. What is the recipe? Oh yeah. So the recipe that I've got for the Yang Chi, I called it Soma smoothie, but the woman one of the women that requested it for her partner, she dubbed it his jizz juice.
That's more catchy.
His jizz juice. So I don't know, whatever floats your boat here. But it's a smoothie, and if smoothies don't work for your body, then ignore this. But it's almond milk, and almond is itself like this a jizzy, spermy, like the pumpkin seed. It's a seed. It's a seed. My seed, that seed. Seed, nourishing seed, right? So almond milk is the base, and that's in tantric things to rejuvenate sexual vitality as well, right? And one of the tantric formulas for rejuvenating lost sexual essence after procreating or after making love, after fucking, after the Kama Sutra, is saffron in almond milk, right? And the saffron will go directly to that essence and rebuild it. And
just those two things?
Yeah, just those two things. And so in his jizz juice, then we've got a little bit of saffron. 3 to 5 stamens is probably like a good dose inside there. So you don't need a large amount of it. And then also with pollen, pine pollen or bee pollen, right? Because what is pollen? Pollen is actually much more accurately sperm than even the seeds, because a seed is a pollinated ovum, right? And so the pollen, we should say my pollen when we're talking about, not my seed, right? Because that implies a woman is just a field that's empty. But it's not. We make a seed, right? If we're going to use plant metaphors accurately, it's my pollen. And pollen is full of hormonal activity, right? Pine pollen is particularly well studied for its androgenic testosterone boosting qualities, and it's very, very nutritive. It's plant jizz.
It even looks like a little dick, the little things that
comes off it. Absolutely,
yeah.
The stamen, there's those things, absolutely. And so that's what it is.
Jizzing into the air.
Pollen is plant jizz, right? And it's studied, and we know. So the pollen goes in there, and it's quite yummy, I think. Goes in the smoothie. And then the last one we can put in there is some maca, because maca also, unlike a range of these herbs, it has kind of sweet, it's like a sort of sweet turnip sort of thing that grows up in the Andes. And the lore around it is that the Andean warriors would like get all janged up on it and then like rage down the mountain ready for battle with their phalluses hard so that their foes would see that they were not afraid. With their maca. And so those...
Everyone's going to run, get some.
And you have a larger dose rather than a smaller dose of maca. It's like a teaspoon or 2 or maybe even 3. It's not a low dose herb like some herbs. Like it's a food. It's a functional food there.
Are there different types of maca?
Yeah, there's a whole thing on maca.
Is there
right?
anyone that's particularly...
I'm not going to get into the intricacies of maca. I think that most of the studies that I've seen have not been really positive on T levels and maca. But as I said, that's a limitation of the paradigm in the studies. And the evidence, the folk evidence says this stuff helps. Right?
Just any kind of maca, get it in your smoothie.
Yeah, get in the smoothie with the pollen and a little bit and the saffron is also going to really help your mental health because it's very serotonergic. It's like a Prozac, and it performs as well as Prozac in some studies. Wow. So that simple combination there is doing so many different things. Yeah. Yeah, Soma smoothie / his jizz juice, right?
Almond milk, maca, saffron,
pollen.
Pollen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And so that's a really simple one that people can just make at home. It is. Yeah, you can chuck a banana in if you want, just for some extra goodness or something like that. Yeah. And I got a second one because we're talking about Mojo meals here. And this one I call the man musk salad. Okay? Man musk salad. So you can understand why. The central ingredient of the man musk salad is fenugreek. Now, we don't use fenugreek in salads so much in Australia, but in the Middle East and some other countries, it's used as a food, not just as a spice, an Indian spice. And I said that the research on a lot of different herbs that in terms of testosterone enhancing capacities was limited or poor or negative. It appears increasingly positive for fenugreek. and testosterone. And you wouldn't think that because it's not like a adaptogenic kind of herb like a whole bunch of the other ones, but it is showing some, like, I think some really positive research stuff around it. But the man musk part is that it also cleans your lymphatic system, and you'll probably smell it under your armpits, right? So the fenugreek will come out through your sweat and clean you like that, but it makes you a little bit muskier like that. On top of that, if that wasn't just like and you have to look up recipes, you can soak them and you can get them a little bit sprouted, and they're really cheap and it's like really cool. They get a little bit slimy and nourish the yin like that as well. There's a slight mucilage on them. But then another thing that has some evidence, one for testosterone and two for making you more attractive to women, is garlic, believe it or not. Okay. You're like, what the hell? Garlic! And the researchers that did this study, they think that it's a pheromonal piece and what it does to the immune system. And it's not the actual smell of garlic on someone's breath. That's not the thing. It's men who regularly consume garlic, when their t-shirts are handed around, I think it's a t-shirt thing, then the women are just like, him, breed him, me breed him. And it's some sort of complex pheromonal process that says this is a healthy man whose immune system is strong and vital. And those things are also, there's a pungency inside that, which is a fire, a yang fire. Pungent things are yang fire. And so those things have research, but I would add stuff that supports the liver and have also a bit more of this spice to it. And that's turmeric, ginger, and a little bit of cayenne chili, which resensitizes dopamine. And so there's this it's a fiery little salad with this succulent yin fenugreek sort of thing, but with these spices around the outside. And then you can put some herbs and a bit of cucumber or some other stuff around it. And so that's my man musk.
Man musk salad.
Man musk salad.
You said that it resensitizes dopamine. Cayenne pepper.
Cayenne, yeah. Capsaicin, yeah. And that's pretty important.
That's huge nowadays, where everyone's so dopamine fried.
Absolutely. And so I've seen research on that. Obviously, it's also dopaminergic itself. You know, people get very addicted to chili, and you can overdo chili. But if you don't overdo chili, then I think perhaps you're a prime candidate to be able to get sort of like, because it's got this incredible moving quality, and that fire. I think in Indonesia they call it lingat or something. Fire, like this concept of yang, and it's in it, but it means fire, and it's in the chili. And then you have more of that, like he's hot. You're hot right now. His company is hot. The shares are hot. Things are moving. They're fast. It's da-da-da. And it's seen to be by those people also in the chili. The hotness, the yangness, the spark and the fire. Now it's not androgenic. It's not testosteronic. But I put them together based upon different things there.
Yeah, even looking at how chili affects my digestive system, it's like,
gets it moving more.
And compared to the yin nourishing stews,
that's right.
It's the other side of the spectrum.
It really is. It's a moving, heating quality to it, and also, you're not like falling asleep at the table whilst you're having chili, are you? You're like, whew. And so on that side, and because it's balanced with the fenugreek there. Then that's a good recipe. It won't be for everyone, but that's a simple recipe people can take away at home. In terms of herbs, then what are some of the herbs that do have the endorsement of the Church of Science right now? Ashwagandha is one that does, and that's really good because it's not just like really, really stimulating. It's for tired and wired. It's called the sleepy nightshade. Withania somnifera, the opposite of insomniferia. It's not called insomniferia, it's called Withania somnifera, and can help you to sleep, and it can help you if you're jittery. But it's also building yang, vitality, and T levels are boosted through it. And so in this instance, I think it's a really good one to highlight and underscore. And then Tongkat Ali, the ginseng of Indonesia and Malaysia, is one of the ginsengs that's really starting to get some positive research around that one as well. Whereas I think Siberian ginseng and Korean ginseng, I saw a review that had like, out of 4 studies, only one of them showed testosterone boost from Korean ginseng. Obviously, Korean ginseng is still good for our mojo, right? But if you have too much of it, it'll be like coffee. And it'll be stimulating and exhausting. So you want to be careful with ginseng, Chinese, Korean ginseng. And so I'm going to steer the brothers towards ashwagandha here.
Yeah. So ashwagandha, if you overdo it, it might put you to sleep and help you rest.
Yeah, possibly. It's certainly used for insomnia. It's used for vata aggravation in Ayurveda. It's used for a nervous system that's kind of fried and twitchy.
And that's kind of at that high cortisol or even the cortisol burnout.
Or low cortisol. Yeah, that's right.
It's-
Your buffer is gone. It's for low cortisol at that point. But at the same time, ashwagandha means like strength of the horse or smell of the horse, horsepower. It'll give you more horsepower, right?
It's amazing that it has both qualities, isn't it?
Plants are incredible like
incredible,
that. That's what
yeah.
they're adaptogens. They will raise what is low and lower what is high, right?
Yeah.
Like a whole range of, like lavender is like, do you use it for high blood pressure or low blood pressure? Yes. It's like, how does it know? It's like, we don't know, but it will balance out those things, right? And so ashwagandha is giving you that beautiful balance like that. And although cordyceps doesn't, I think, have any research around directly increasing testosterone at present that I've seen, it nourishes the yin and the yang. And these days you don't have to have it grown on a caterpillar, you can have it grown on grain, you know, like most of our cordyceps these days isn't the winter fungus, it's the caterpillar fungus. And so you've probably seen pictures from Tibet and places where they first found it's cordyceps. It's one of these zombie funguses.
I didn't know that.
Okay, it's a zombie fungus, and they take over the brain of insects primarily, and then get them to do things that they wouldn't normally do. It's terrifying.
Oh, like the ants that crawl up and
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah,
That's that family. That's the cordyceps family. But this one is in a caterpillar, and then it grows this like horn out of it at the top.
yeah, I've seen
Yeah, there's this like big phallic horn.
That's what.
Yeah, and it increases, you know, stamina and all these other things is well studied now, right? Even though it's not specifically showing T boosting, it's yang boosting and mojo enhancing and stamina enhancing, and it nourishes the yin as well as the yang, traditionally, right? The yin of the lungs and all these other things. So those are some good ones that I put down there in terms of yang.
On the mushroom train, I just heard the other day someone said that he heard something that lion's mane decreases testosterone. Do you know anything about this? I don't.
No, I don't. It is on the yin side of things. I know that there's studies around its use for menopausal women, and it's all of its indications are sort of like it's a yin kind of mushroom. It's moist and succulent, good for a digestive tract, good for anxiety, and nourishes that aspect of the brain and helps rebuild in all of these ways. I didn't know about it being, but if there has been a study there, then we want to notice that, but be cautious because a study doesn't, you know, like we want a little bit more time around that to be like, oh no, this actually dramatically lowers testosterone. It's like, okay, and so we're fairly confident that high consistent doses of licorice can lower testosterone now, but I don't know that about lion's mane. So shall we move on to the third one, which was the free flow of chi?
Let's do it.
Please.
Yeah, and so the free flow of chi. So we've spoken about the yin and the yang, the sun and the moon, you know, the fire and the water, but here in a way we're speaking about breath. The movement between them in this holy trinity, what can be converted into yin and yang, chi, prana or pneuma. Prana in India, pneuma in Greece. They go back to those two very clearly, prana and pneuma, have the same language root in the Pan-Indo-European language base. The Vedic and the Greek come from the same language, as do half the world's languages, right? And that is nu, which is the sound of the wind blowing. Nu. So it means wind in a way, life breath, life force. And chi means something like vapor. It's a symbol of steam coming off rice cooking. It means mist or something like that, right? And so when I'm talking about free-flowing chi, I'm talking about your life breath, right? And something more like the wind, which is about flow here, right? It's about the capacity to move. And where's your chi at, you know? Is it all tensed up and bunched up, right? And so that's not about, we're not like, oh, you're too yang or you're not yin enough in that. That's not the language there. It's your chi's all tight, man. Like, and so we've got to think about this. as well. Having a metaphor, a language, a target for stay loose, man. Stay loose, brother, stay loose. You've got to stay loose. It's exhausting your yin and your yang to be walking around white knuckling it like this. Doesn't matter how much of it you got, it's exhausting. And when I saw a study on, I sound like the research guy, I'm not the research guy, but I did see a study on the best tennis players in the world and the almost best tennis players in the world. And they looked at them and they found that they were very similar in terms of something like their state of chi whilst they're playing, their nervous tension, and just like they're on. They're equally on. It's not like the almost best or the second best is less focused and present than the best in these games, right? But then in between the sets, the best, he releases. He's not holding that in between. It's like the spring is stretched and then it's relaxed, right? It's the cheetah that's like chill and waiting and then whoosh, going again, right? It requires that chi flow and that rest in between, right? So that it can move again. You can't keep it at a state of tension in this way. And so when I'm talking about the flow of chi, then I'm speaking about this larger piece as a goal in terms of your life, right? We talked about activity and rest. Now I'm talking about the state, your basic state of tone. And I'm bringing that back to the breath. Breathe, brothers, breathe. Stay loose, stay flowing, right? Stay loose and stay flowing, right? Is that making sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, okay.
With the breath, there's a lot about breath work.
Yes.
Right? Is it breathe as in practice breath work actively, consistently, or is it just take deep diaphragmatic breathing as a regular?
Yeah, I think if you can do those practices, then that's wonderful. They're amazing. Wouldn't recommend against any of that stuff at all. But there's just so much pressure around all of us, like just in terms of our well-being and our spirituality, to just be like, no, you must be doing pranayama, and if you're not doing 3 hours at every morning, then you're not going to be a man. It's like, oh God, I don't want to put any more pressure on anyone around this. It's just like, don't forget to breathe. You can do that. You can do that. And you don't have to have big techniques, and you can just, really just take 3 breaths. Even just take 3, man. Like, if you can, put your hands on your belly, watch them to rise and fall. You don't have to have done a big course in it, right? Like, I want to make it as accessible as possible. And if you've got more than that, then hallelujah, that's fantastic and it's better. Breath work is central to so many of those Taoist and Vedic yogic traditions, shamanic traditions, and all this sort of stuff. It's central to the act of sex. At part of delaying your ejaculation, if you want to delay your ejaculation, is just to slow your breath, brothers. Because that you're building that tension, part of it is like, and if you don't keep that bellows going, then sometimes it can be harder to get there. So just slowing that breath, right, is like enabling that to extend, right? And so it's the same in life, like get loose, right? Get loose. This is a different piece. Now, in terms of what this translates to in the body, then in Chinese medicine, whilst your kidney adrenals are the sort of source of all yin and yang in the body, at least that's the easiest way to say it, then the free flow of qi is the liver's responsibility. And so, this is Taoist imagery here. It's just like, well, that's one way to say the liver does so many functions that no doctor can list them off. It's got like 200 different things that it does or something like that. The liver does it a lot. And so in charge of the free flow of qi is a good like top line summary. It does a lot of different things. But because of the liver-brain axis and because of the centrality of the liver to hormonal regulation, right? I'm going to repeat that. There's a liver-brain axis If your liver is out, your brain is out, right? Alcoholics, their consciousness changes, right? If you've got hepatitis, your consciousness changes. If you just like hit your liver hard and hard and hard, you won't have the B vitamins necessary to be able to make the neurotransmitters that you need. You know about the gut brain, there is a liver-brain axis, right? And it's connected to consciousness. But it's also central, as we've spoken in other conversations, to the breakdown, not just of alcohol and coffee and drugs and poisons, but of hormones. And if those hormones aren't broken down, then your chi gets tense, right? And tense chi is what it looks like is, in women, PMS. And it's treated through liver medicines in Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine treats us with liver formulas, right? And it's through helping the liver to process estrogen, we would say, from a Western perspective, releases that tension in the premenstrual tension, or the dysphoria in like the loss of mood inside there, right? And so it's liver herbs that enhance liver health that enable for that staying loose here. Now this is the hardest of the three to describe, so I want you guys to help me make sure this lands for everyone else. What are the questions? Where's the fuzzy edges on this?
So yeah, even before you started talking about the liver-brain axis, what was coming to me was some friends who own a breathwork business, and one of their mottos is the way you breathe is the way you think. And you know, when we can find that, it's like almost spaciousness instantly opens up in the mental cognitive realm. And
yes,
and just knowing that there's that liver-brain axis, and that's the free flow of chi is like the breath.
Yes. And the chi is the breath just in the body.
Yeah.
If you want to think of it as the oxygen in the hemoglobin, that's actually way too small. It's not that. But so that you've got the sense that it's flowing everywhere, it's not just here to here. It's not like inhale, exhale. There's this, obviously, it's taking the chi out of the air, right? The spirit out of the air. When we respire, we inspire, right? We are inspired. We inspire spirit. And spirit is the Latin translation of pneuma, meaning breath or wind, right? And so we get that spirit out of the air traditionally, and we can see it mythopoetically perhaps as oxygen molecules in hemoglobin that is moving around. But by regulating your breath, you're not just regulating your lungs, you're regulating the free flow of that energy throughout the body, through the breath. And then because the liver filters the blood and does a whole bunch of different stuff, then it is really, really central to the way in which that chi flows around the body. And so if we call someone gung-ho, right, their chi is all bunched up when someone's gung-ho, that means hot liver in Chinese medicine.
Oh, wow.
Hot liver, right? Wow. And so, and yeah, the liver-brain axis, the research on it is getting stronger and stronger, and it's really, really clear. And so this piece is really important. Nourish the yin, ignite the yang, or nourish the yin and honor the yang, or honor the yin and nourish the yang, you know, like however that lands for you. Stay loose with a free flow of chi. It's a different target than yin and yang, right? And that's the main thing. I want it to land, not technically, but intuitively. Do you get what I mean when I'm saying that target of keep your chi loose and flowing?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just the life flow in you. It's like a river flowing that's not tensed up and the water can't flow.
That's right. Yeah. And you see it in like the way a panther moves. There's a grace, like a dancer's grace to it. And it has all of that like stored vitality to, you know, or a cheetah or anything like that, right? But along the way they're loose. They're loose so that then when they need to, bang, it's there. And so that's for us. That's that free flow of chi. You need to stay loose, right? And so how do we do that and nourish that in the body? And it's different. Though all the things I said about yin and yang are important, but it's a different piece here. And so on the one hand, then things that tighten you up are not good, right? And it's just like you notice your chi isn't. Where's your chi at? It's like kind of where's your shoulders at? It's for some people, it's where their shoulders at. It's like, okay, it's all bunched up, right? For some people, it'll be like, where's their stool at? Because when is their colon that tightens up and they can't have a bowel motion when their chi is all tight. For some people, it'll be a headache or it'll be little twitches. There's a range of things that show that the tension, it's not flowing smooth, and can be like pains or twitches as well. There are all these kind of wind signs in Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, right?
For the battery metaphor, if you said the fluid is the yin, the spark is the yang, then maybe the chi is the current.
Yes, the current that moves around. That's right, after that, right? And it's dependent upon those other things, right? But it is that current. It's really, really beautiful. That's right. And it needs to be able to be flowing. It needs to be in flow. So the central thing here is about flow and staying loose, right? That's the target as men from a psycho-emotional perspective, right? How do we nourish that in the body, right? It has something different. So because there's rather than the lungs being the focus here, in Chinese medicine, the liver is the focus. And we see that, like I said, through the premenstrual stuff and the way in which it can't break down enough estrogens, and then the tension that comes out of that, right? And so looking after your liver as a man, as a dad, right, is so crucial. If you are whacking your liver, but you're still having your bone broth and you're still going to the gym, but you're whacking your liver, then it's going to undermine your yin and your yang and your chi flow and all these other things. How is it going to do that? Your liver is not going to be able to process the estrogens of the world that are everywhere, and then you're going to start to get an estrogen buildup, which is going to start to increase body fat, and then it's going to start turning mojo into femojo. It's going to start turning your testosterone into estrogen. Your liver will be doing that effectively if you hit it with coffee and alcohol and drugs and a toxic lifestyle. It's not enough to be a gym bro. And you're like, just focused on T and yang. Not enough. It will not land, right? You need all that honoring of the yin that I spoke of, and you really need this third point. It's like, if you want to have I'm going to bring it back to the dick again, sorry, I know there's been a bit of this. If you want to have a glorious erection into your old age, you need a healthy liver. And when we speak of brewer's droop, then I always thought that meant you had so much alcohol that for that night you couldn't have an erection. It's not. It's that brewers were always droopy. And that brewers were always droopy, not from the ethanol actually, but from the hops, from the herb inside that, which is very estrogenic. And so it's the same thing though, because there is research showing an inverse relationship with alcohol and testosterone as well, right? And so it's probably coming back to those particular pathways. But if I can give some extra poetry around that, when your chi is all tight, if the only way you know to loosen that up and get loose is to have 5 beers and 5 doses of hops, then you've kind of forced it, right? It's a bit like forcing your yang fire with stimulants like amphetamines, and you're just exhausting it, right? And so after you've forced it with alcohol, it will get more stuck. You'll be more stuck. But you can also get the feeling of the free flow of chi from coffee as well. It's a liver, it goes to the liver. And then you feel inspired, your dreaming soul is whispering to you, you got like, oh yeah. But it's using it up. And so that's good if you use it responsibly and sustainably, but if you're doing it every day, you're going to get tenser and tenser and tighter and less in flow as you exhaust that, right? Less in flow. And so then a nutraceutical that opposes all of that energetically, not specifically for the liver per se, is magnesium. Magnesium is a relaxing centrifugal out, relaxing kind of thing in the body. It dilates, it softens, it relaxes, it helps all this sort of stuff. Magnesium is good for the free flow of chi in its broadest way. And anything that whacks the liver, and my big 4 are coffee, alcohol, paracetamol, the leading cause of liver failure in the United States, and cacao. It's hard on the liver. A dog dies from chocolate through liver failure, right? And so cacao is wonderful, coffee is wonderful, alcohol is wonderful. paracetamol if you require it, you know. Those herbs, I'm not against those herbs, but you hit them too often and it's going to affect your liver, right? And if your liver isn't good, then chocolate's going to mess with you as well. It'll feel good for a little while and then it's like your liver has to process all the theobromine. There's not that much caffeine in chocolate, but it's got all this theobromine. Your liver has to process it. It has to break it down so it can be excreted. Like it has to process estrogens or xenoestrogens or poisons or, I don't know, amphetamines or the drugs that you just took from your doctor. Your liver has to do all of that. It's the alchemist that's breaking it all down. And if you give it all this chocolate and all this coffee and all this alcohol that it has to break down, then you're popping ibuprofen and paracetamol to help with the headaches along the way, then your liver can't allow for the free flow of qi inside that. It can't do all the things that allow all those catalytic processes, all those little enzymatic movements and hormonal things that are all dependent upon the liver to flow, and then you will not be in a state of flow. Right? And so loving your liver is crucial for your mojo, And we just don't have that message yet as men. We don't have that message. It's all about T. It's all about boosting testosterone. And that's incredibly limited. And most of the time when I see guys that have like erectile dysfunction, they have liver problems with high estrogens and their testosterone levels are okay. So this fixation on testosterone is a problem of reductive reasoning. It's like the echinacea thing that I told you before. You just get it wrong. Like, oh, well, don't have those herbs because they don't boost testosterone. And don't have echinacea because it doesn't kill viruses. I was like, yeah. So that third part is really, really important, right? And in terms of your diet, then what have I got on diet? Easy on the booze, vitamin Bs and magnesium. That executive stress thing about vitamin Bs is like you need that to be. They can really help stress bus, and your liver uses them in all of these processes. They're just what are they? They're like little wheelbarrows or little things that the liver can. It's just like great. I can break down last night's alcohol. I can help in the process of creating serotonin. It helps with methylation. I'll use a little bit of B6 there, and a little bit of B12 there, and the cogs all move. B12 or B vitamins are all little things that enable all these enzymatic and biochemical gears to flow. B vitamins are really important. They're not the only ones, but they're inside that to keep it flowing. And that's why B vitamins, we could say, are helpful for stress, for the executive stress picture, tight and stressed, right? And so that's that.
Should men be supplementing these B vitamins, or can you get enough in meat?
Probably you, because of our toxic world, and the increased requirements on the liver, at times to experiment with supplementation for a period of time underneath more stress. I personally don't live on vitamins. I think they are supplements, and I really try to get things out of food as much as possible. But I also don't have this like, no, I shall never touch a synthetic vitamin, right? And so there's periods where you're like, I'm under a lot right now, and rather than hitting the beer and the coffee, I'm gonna hit the B vitamins and the magnesium, and I'm gonna take his jizz juice in the morning, and I'm gonna do the things, and I'm gonna have some of that parasympathetic passion juice in the evenings. I'm gonna do a range of different bits like that. In those times, hit the B vitamins, gents, absolutely. You have a bit more energy from it, and you'll also be a little bit looser.
Becoming a father, new dad, first couple of years of parenthood, good time for those B vitamins.
So crucial, because when we're talking about that bunched up tight chi, it's like, oh, that was me when my kids were young constantly, because it's just like it's always on, or even lovingly, Dad, look at me, look, I just moved my hand this way. Okay, that's great, awesome, well done. Dad, look at me, I moved my other hand this way. That's great. Even when they're lovely, they can be taxing, right? And we need all of these strategies, and the argument for that is contained in our other conversation. Yeah. And so other foods are perhaps just actually, if you're not vegetarian, liver, pate, liver. If you are vegetarian, goji berries. The liver loves goji berries. You could also bitter herbs. The Chinese use chai hu or biplurum, but dandelion coffee instead of coffee, or even with your coffee. Your liver loves dandelion root, and so get some of that in as well. Those sorts of things, like actual liver, eating healthy, organic, happy, local liver is one way, and it's a crucial herb from the Western tradition. We used it, as a medicine constantly, really nourishing like that. Gives all the nutrients for the liver, obviously.
Great for young kids as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's rich. It's like the placental caps that some women make after their afterbirth and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really, really rich, and it's wonderful like that. Traditionally, all of those organ meats will have some helpful function in this. A lot of them will have the non-muscle kind of stuff that indigenous mob all over the world, like honour and relish. Then a lot of that can be really helpful in this area, not just liver as well. These days, in a toxic world with terrible animal husbandry, most of those things are the worst things to eat unless you're buying good, happy, local, organic stuff. Yeah.
That's a good distinction to make.
It really is, because all that cheap chicken, that's just going to grow your man boobs and a veranda over the tool shed and, give you the droops. And there's nothing manly about beer. It's hops. Like in terms of keeping your free flow of chi, it's just like, it's wonderful to have one sometimes because hops will do that. That's what hops does. It's relaxing. It's like a cannabis sort of thing, like it's cool. But our testosterone is so endangered and so at risk at present that we need to break the association, at least in Australia, between manliness and brewers' droop inducing beer. And every day I have 5 beers. It's like, that's going to really undermine your mojo real quick, and we know it. So those are those 3.
Great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really comprehensive and simple as well. I really appreciate the framing of nourishing yin, nourishing yang, firing up the yang, and then free flow of chi. And if we're thinking about our foods and our herbs as new fathers and as men in that way, it's really clear, and we can know what we need at specific times, and we can recognize in ourselves when we're a bit tight or a bit burnt out, and also recognize at those times, now's the time, more emphasis on nourishing yin. Actually, now's the time I've got to really look after my liver. Yeah.
And so in terms of those things being psychological targets to hit and to honour, for the free flow of chi, if we spoke about the sort of vital activity of sunlight and movement and weights in yang and the quiescent, parasympathetic and the being of the yin, then what do I do when my chi is bunched up? Well, catharsis in some form is perhaps the medicine there. And that catharsis could be like singing in a men's choir. La, and it's just like you really, afterwards you're like, yes. That catharsis could be sex. That catharsis could be going into the forest and roaring. That catharsis could be martial arts. A big cry, right? When your chi is bunched up, what do? I'm going to say in its broadest sense, you get loose, and one of those ways is catharsis. You've got to express it somehow, and it could be with a paintbrush. It could be with there's 1,000 ways. Catharsis feels like it's always going to be just a dramatic emoting, and it doesn't have to be that. But in order to, you're tense because there's stuff that's not being given voice to, right?
Just going to ask you, and I intended to before, and very quickly before we wrap up, because we know in Chinese medicine there's a link, anger and liver.
Yes.
An association. Is that another kind of diagnostic clue? It's like, I'm feeling angry, or I'm like easily angered.
Yes.
Is that pointing me towards I need more free flow?
It really can. It really can. But even broader than just anger, because that's very, very true about the association between anger and the liver. But really, all emotions not expressed, any emotion not expressed is going to shut down the free flow of chi, right? And so it needs to be expressed. It doesn't mean it needs to be vocalized. It doesn't mean you need to confront someone with it and they need to hear about it. It doesn't but it needs to be expressed. And expressed could be in any of those ways that we talk about, right? It can be completely by yourself. It can be just with dance in your room, expressed, right? and the shutting down of that, not just the shutting down of anger or frustration or resentment. And as a father, then, you really you're gonna have to shut down a range of things, because it's natural for a parent to feel like you want to say, shut up, to your, 6-month-old screaming baby. And it's just like, what is that? You can't do that. Well, you yell at a baby, but you want to. You want to, because it's stressing you out, and you can't. You got to do something. You've got to do something. And there's a lot of ways you can do something, but you've got to move your chi, and moving your chi is moving your breath, moving your emotions as energy and motion. And that the liver is in charge of energy and motion, and the free flow and the free expression of all emotions. There's nothing wrong with any of them. None of them are wrong. They just need to stay in motion, emotions in motion. And that's the larger piece of the liver and the free flow of chi, of keeping emotions in motion. Yeah. And we don't want to sanctify each one of them too much either. Of like, no, I felt this and therefore it's sacred. And the world has gone a little bit like that at the moment. It's just like, I got hurt feelings and that's just like, I'm going to have religion around it and how dare you. It's like, no, but they just need to stay in motion. They're passing and they're moving, they're clouds and everything, and we honor them, but they just need to stay in motion, right?
And for a lot of men, it is hard to recognize emotions and to then be able to express them. So I also just want to drop in, if you know that about yourself, get help. There's people, emotion-focused therapy all around us.
Yeah, because our culture has socialized us in ways, and our fathers and our fathers' fathers, that the expressing of our emotions has not been welcome, right? And inside that is something beautiful. Inside that is something incredible. Like, I'm waiting to see a newspaper article, and I got this example from someone else. It says, 5 men suppress their emotions on side of highway and save 11 lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
The suppression of emotions at times is what enables men to go into particular situations and do things, right? It's just like, okay, I'm really hurting, but I'm going to be there for you right now, my woman. I'm there for you. And I'm going to put this to one side for the moment so I can support you. And then I have to pick it up and I'm going to sort through it. So it's that male trait is not to be pathologized in its entirety. However, out of balance, that's the yin and the yang of all of these things, out of balance, then it leads to tight, constrained, repressed men where it just, something's going to give. You can't keep the strings, like pressed or stretched for all that time. It's going to come out sideways. And so when you feel that tension, express is the piece. It's like, yes, do the physical things that I said. Those physical things are the physiological, ingestibles and stuff like that. But the main thing is getting that as a target first in your mind, right? Understand, I'm going to shoot for that. Stay loose. Keep my chi flowing, right? I'm too uptight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny that we don't understand these. The babies are such good examples. Any emotion comes, they express it, they feel great afterwards.
Yes.
But then we think, hold it in.
Yeah.
I liken it to, you need to take a shit.
Yes.
You have this urge to take a shit.
Yes.
Okay, if you're on, the bus right now, hold it in. But like as soon as you get off the bus, you go home and you express.
Yes, that's right. You express.
Like, you don't just hold it in.
Absolutely.
It's going to have some issues.
Yeah.
The emotion's the same. If you're at work, you're frustrated, don't yell at your boss. But go home and express it. Like you said, your kid, you don't yell at your kid. Hold it for now.
Yeah.
The kid calms down. Go somewhere.
Express it that right.
Scream into a pillow. Do some push-ups.
Yeah. There's a lot of non-verbal ways that men can express their emotions as well. Obviously, like dance and paint and all these different things. It doesn't have to be talk therapy. Yeah. Right? Yeah, hitting the heavy bags. All this stuff needs to be just like, these are really good tools for getting your chi flowing again, right? These are really good tools. They get you loose again. Let it out, work it through. That's the third piece that's not in the yin and the yang. And it's crucial. And it sort of sits between them almost, right? It's an infinity sign, and it's like that flow that allows for both of those, the conversion of one to the other, that current that moves through the battery that is both and neither, right? That's why I've given you this tripartite model today. So we know what we're aiming for, and if they don't remember any of the recipes or any of the foods or any of the medicines, it doesn't matter. You know what you're aiming for, because the most important ones are those lifestyle practices. Yeah. Those are the most important.
Beautiful. And at a time where men really need it, health, vitality, flow, chi. Thank you for delivering the goods.
It's an absolute privilege. I've been loving our work here with the Fatherhood Collective brothers.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, all right. Let's bring it in.
Beautiful.
Come on here. Yeah.
Awesome.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, likewise.
Full power.
Well, all of the information about the other talks will be linked in the description. Feel free to feel encouraged very deeply to check those out.
And feel free.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Pleasure.
Thanks.